Again, thank you for coming, and we have a lot of material to cover. These are words, so the first is to get our terminology so that we are all together on terminology. So we're going to do some assessments on you today, and you're going to, as you do them, we're going to keep track, and you're going to learn what those numbers mean, and hopefully there's some kind of baseline for where you are today and where it is that we're going. And so I want to start with some basic information about heart rate. And there are lots of different kinds of heart rate monitors, and we're going to use two of them today. One is the blink, and the blink, there is a 1A blink and a 2A blink. The 1 means one button, so today you all received a blink 1A. I have one on my wrist. It's the simplest, easiest, funnest heart rate monitor because it flashes colors. And the colors that it flashes match zoning. And zoning I'm going to cover is it's going to flash blue today when you are under the number 70. We program 70 and 90. So the top of blue, and right now sitting, those are your sitting zones. And zones is a range of heartbeats. The 90 is the top of yellow. So if your blink is flashing blue, will you stand up? If it's flashing blue, what does it mean? If it's flashing blue, you're in the easy zone, exactly. So he's below the number 70. Now standing up, if it's still flashing blue, stay standing. If it moved to yellow, sit down. Okay, what that demonstrates, good job, you get to stay standing, is that from sitting to standing, you put stress on your heart. Now blood has to pump to your head, to your legs. So that is load, that is stress, that is, you're burning more calories in yellow because it's a harder zone. It is in that zone, and in your syllabus there are little cards. And there is a column here called calories burned and fuel burned. So when I reference that it's higher intensity, it burns more calories, later on we're going to get into that. So the heart rate monitor is your friend. Your heart rate monitor is not a toy, it's a powerful, powerful tool because your underlying physiology is very busy right now. It is digesting food, it is thinking, it is trying to constantly adjust for temperature, for the stress of having to learn and listen. So it is the most powerful piece of data we can have on your physiology, and I know you might think, oh, it's my blood pressure, or it's my body weight, or it's my amount of sleep. It is your heart rate. This heart is about the size of your fist. It is beating in beats per minute, is sharing with you, is talking to you, and wants to communicate with you, but you can't see it. It's hidden inside this chest of ours. It has a language, and that language is called, Trevor, the language of the heart is a number called, we talked about it yesterday, that's why I called on you, beats per minute. Beats per minute, okay. Okay, so let's quickly, Tim, what is your heart telling you right now? 55. 55. Sharon, what's it telling you?
55.
Oh, okay, Lisa?
55.
Okay, Joel?
71.
71. So is 55 better than 71? No. 50, you only are going to today compare yourself with yourself. So 55 might not be good if it's normally 45. So don't say, oh, well, Tim did better than Lisa, that did better than, because it's just you. That's all we're talking about today, not comparing yourself with other people. So there are different kinds of heart rate monitors. I love the blink because it flashes a color. And when I'm swimming or when I'm biking, I can just quickly look at my color and I know I'm in the right zone. And all the zones are good. There's no target zone, there's no one zone, there's no get into this zone. They're all different things happen in these different zones. So I love all the zones. I love this blue zone because I can do it all day long. I love the yellow zone because I'm going to burn a lot of fat and a lot of calories. My favorite is the red zone. I'm a high intensity junkie. I'm not saying it's good. I just like sweating, bringing hard and going hard because that's what I did when I raced, and that's how you win races. So, but we're going to put on different kinds of heart rate monitor. I have a new Apple Watch, and it's a heart rate monitor. Heart rate monitors are going to be ubiquitous. They're going to be in jewelry. They're going to be in our clothes. They're going to be everywhere around us. And you're going to be one of the early pioneers because you're going to understand, oh, I get what 55 means to me and what 71 means to you. It is your language. And there's lots of reasons to wear them. I think probably the most important for me is I get engaged in my fitness. I get motivated. I get inspired. So when I have biofeedback, what is this precious muscle trying to talk and tell me? I can guess all day, oh, my heart rate's low or it's high, but I don't know unless I have a way to access that information. So we immediately are going to do an activity. The most important test, and that's why I started, it should happen in every physician's office. This test should happen in every time I'm a fitness person or a coach. It's called recovery heart rate. And recovery heart rate is how quickly does my heart rate return back to where I started after I do some activity. And that activity can be meditating, or that activity can be jumping up and down. We're going to have a book or a hat for the one who has the best recovery heart rate. So I like competition. I just gave you some competition. How'd your heart rate do? And I said, let's win. Emotions affect things. For 1 minute, you're going to do whatever you want to do. You take your heart rate wherever you want to do it. And at the end of that, you get your peak heart rate. And you're going to write, if you can remember it if you have to write down. Then 1 minute, you're going to get in some position, sitting, lying, standing, whatever, and you're going to try to lower your heart rate as quickly as possible. And that is going to be your recovery heart rate, and you're going to enter that information on page 9. What your scorecard is, your recovery heart rate number. So I'm going to be your timer. Does everybody understand what the assessment is going to be? It's a recovery heart rate assessment. You can run out in the gym. You can do push-ups in here. You can, if you have any physical, you don't want to do this, that's great, because sometimes it's just better to observe and learn the first time. We're going to do this twice. The second time we're going to do it a bit differently. So we're going to do what's called total recovery. I get a minute of doing something and then a minute of recovering. I'm going to record my peak heart rate, my 60 seconds later heart rate, and then the winner is the best recovery heart rate number. Everybody clear? Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You have 1 minute. Go do whatever you want. Have fun, come back. You can stay in this room. But you only have 60 seconds. So
5 more seconds.
Breathing, relaxation will drop your heart rate, going to a happy place. Stop. Will you now go to page 9? And will you enter your recovery heart rate number? Okay. So if your recovery heart rate number, and here on the slide you can see what are good numbers. If your recovery did not drop at least, and this is for you, Trevor, 12 beats, it is the best indication we have that you have cardiovascular disease. And that's why this is one of the underlying cardiovascular disease is very hard to diagnose without going to a physician. So I'm always going to look for that number. So if your recovery heart rate number was 15 or less, sit down. Last one standing wins. If it was 20 or less, sit down. If it was 25 or less, sit down. Really? If it was 30 or less, sit down.
You mean the difference between the
yes.
resting heart rate and
your peak heart rate and your 60-second, this number right here is less than 25, sit down. If it's less than 30, sit down. If it's less than 35, sit down. Somebody's going to sit down here soon. It means you're really pretty fit. If it's 40 or less, sit down. If it's 45 or less, sit down. Okay, so Tim, tell me what the highest heart rate, your peak heart rate, what was it?
120.
120. And 60 seconds later it was?
74.
So he takes 120 minus 74 and you got? Can anybody do?
56.
56. If it was 56 or 50, 40, it was 40, 46. Okay, if it was 46 or less, sit down. Joel, what was your peak? What was your peak heart rate?
118 to 69.
49? Did anybody beat 49? Okay, so now we're going to do a different. That was called total recovery. And now we're going to do something called active recovery. There's two kinds of recovery. So I'm going to ask everyone to go out for about 2 minutes and get to 125 beats a minute. Everybody's going to be at the same heart rate. And then we're going to do active recovery. When I say stop, Lisa's going to give us 60 seconds. And who can drop the most? And all you're going to do in active recovery is just walk around like this really easy. You don't stop moving, because when you stop moving, blood pressure drops. So active recovery is a little bit better than total recovery. You see the difference in the tests? Okay.
So we're doing 1 minute?
You're going to give them 2 minutes to get to 125 beats a minute. I don't care if you get on a bike, you walk around, whatever you want to do. At the end of 2 minutes, I want you at 125. Lisa will say, stop. And now you're going to walk around, breathe. What can I do with walking meditation, with some active recovery? And we're going to come and do this test, the math in here. Okay, go. And Trevor, are you up and running? Or?
Let's see. Well, give me a
I have
number
my
now.
timer on.
But you might have trouble. Look at your heart rate monitor and tell me you're at 125. Yeah, you're close. You could be 120, you can be 130. I'm not precise. I just need you around about 125. Okay, so I want everyone to slow down, breathe, and do quiet recovery. This is called active recovery. It's what I really recommend, not total recovery. But are you going to have a higher recovery numbers or lower recovery numbers? Okay, so now you're going to go back to page 9 and you're going to do the math. Take your peak heart rate, subtract your 2-minute recovery heart rate. At the end of 2 minutes, your heart rate dropped down. And then I need everyone to stand up after you've finished doing the math and watch your heart rate change from sitting to standing. That's always a fun thing, because there is I could go into great science about what just happened. There's a response that is your flight response. So when you stand up, your heart rate sometimes races going, do they want me to run away from the tigers? No, I just want you to stand up. Okay, so if your recovery heart rate was 15 or less, sit down. If it was 20 or less, sit down. If it's 25 or less, sit down. Last one standing wins a Heart Zone's really cool ventilated baseball cap. If it was 25 or less, sit down. If it was 30 or less, sit down. Really, this is awesome. If it was 35 or less, sit down. 40 or less, sit down. 45? Okay. Okay, would you now go to page 10? So when I developed the Heart Zones training system, and I'm the originator of the very first heart rate training programs I created back in the early 1990s. I wrote the first book. My chain of Fleet Feet running stores sold the first heart rate monitors in America that we imported from Europe. And I bought my first heart rate monitor, it was $500, so it was close to this Apple Watch. I like, where I spend money is on really expensive toys like kayaks and mountain bikes, and I'd love for you to take your discretionary dollars and invest it into fitness equipment and pack your neighborhood and encourage your neighbors to get fit, and you be the example in your neighborhood. Invite your friends to be your training partners. So I patented the Heart Zones training system, and the reason I call it that is heart is the most important muscle in our body. I'm going to give you a little video of how the heart works. Zones is a range of heartbeats, and training is different than exercise. So what is the difference between the word exercise and the word train? Yes, so training is goal-based, and we do better if we have something to focus on, if we have a goal, and small goals, not big goals, that are attainable where we can be successful. And so when I patented the Heart Zones training system, I created it in a way, and I'm going to get to this, where we use different data points to measure different kinds of things. And there are principles. So anytime you develop a system, there has to be a foundation that are the principles of training. And we have 5 different principles. One of the ones that I find the most important is that this is a wellness continuum. So if you want to develop your health, you're going to spend a lot of time in these low zones, blue and yellow. If you're interested in cardiovascular fitness, it's sometimes called aerobic capacity. It has lots of different terms. You're going to spend a lot of time in yellow. This is our endurance zone. This is where we're going to go for a long, long time, burn lots of calories. and you're going to fall in love with that golden zone. And if you want performance, so if you don't care about getting on the podium or getting faster, you never need to go to the red zone. That red zone is high, hot, hard, and I love it. So there's a lot about the Hard Zones training system and facts about it, and you can learn more. I've written 24 books mostly on this topic, from how to use a heart rate monitor to lose weight to emotional fitness, and programs that use this tool, use this biofeedback, because what your heart is giving you is data, and that we need to use that data. So there's lots of things that affect your heart rate, and you can tell of those lots of things why heart rate is both a global number for your body, but some people have said, oh, heart rate isn't very good because it is affected by so many different things. If you had a bad night's sleep last night, if you're on medication, if your dog died, if the stock market crashes, all of these things affect your heart rate. And it's fascinating to say, why is it today, I'm sitting here, it's 80, and yesterday it was 70? And what that does, it engages your brain, another important body organ, to be engaged in your physiology. Because once we can understand how our physiology is working, did I eat crap for food? Did I break up with my boyfriend or girlfriend? I mean, did I not exercise? Have I not stood up 5 minutes every hour, which is what we like you to do at your workplace? Look at your monitor right now, write that number down. And ambient heart rate is that heart rate while you're sitting there rested and relaxed. Like ambient heart rate would be when you're reading a book or you're at the workplace. Do we want our ambient heart rate number high or do we want it low? Lower the better as compared to yourself, not anybody else that's around you. I now want to show you a video of the heart in action, and it's really powerful.
As an athlete, you have to know your body so well. My body now is at such a finely tuned level that I have to be careful with everything that I do. I can't run out and just go play basketball or go jump over a car like I used to because any little thing can throw it off. Like this love, you have to be very precise about what you do. Like for myself, I know when my heart's not beating right. I can tell when my heart's beating too fast. I don't have to try it. I don't have to test it.
A double action pump of ingenious design, the heart is the engine that drives the human machine. The heart and its network of blood vessels keep every part of the body supplied with a steady stream of life-sustaining oxygen. The oxygen enters the bloodstream through the lungs on either side of the chest. The heart takes in this oxygen-rich blood through the left atrium, the top left chamber. It flows down to the lower chamber, the left ventricle, and the ventricle pumps the blood up and out to the body. Emptied of oxygen, the blood returns to the heart through the right atrium, passing into the right ventricle, which pumps the blood back to the lungs. These tendons on the heart's inner walls are attached to muscles that contract to regulate the amount of blood flowing through the heart. Valves open and close. Blood enters and exits, creating a familiar rhythm. But what keeps the heart on the beat? Even when taken out of the body, an isolated piece of heart muscle will pump without any signals from the brain or the nervous system. Here's another. And another. But how can all these muscle cells, each capable of independent action, work together in the heart in perfect synchrony? The secret lies with the heart's spark plug, the sinoatrial node. Called the SA node, it is located at the top of the heart. Its signal is picked up by the AV node near the ventricles. Left to their own devices, the muscles of the heart would only beat about 40 times a minute. But the SA and AV nodes send out electrical impulses that synchronize the beating and boost the heart up to a more normal speed. About 70 beats per minute, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Here, we see the entrance to the coronary artery, where blood enters to fuel the heart muscle itself. Fully 10% of all oxygen taken in is used to keep the heart pumping. Any muscle can cramp if its oxygen supply is cut off. For the heart, a cramp means a heart attack, the devastating result of a blocked coronary artery. This is the top of the heart looking down through the aortic valve. Here is the entrance ramp for the blood's main highway. Oxygen-rich blood is launched up and through the aortic arch, setting out for every distant destination in the universe within.
My brother Joel's father died of a heart attack. And I want you to take care of that heart. And it's precious. It's the only muscle that can never stop working. And if it does stop working, you get 6 feet underground. So let's really focus on the most important muscle that we have, which is why I am here and my motivation to get America fit.